Hold on. Hello and greetings. It's lovely to be back with you again as we continue our study through the book of Acts. Last week we looked at the introduction to Acts. This week we're going to be looking at Acts chapter 1. You may have noticed the dogs here. These are my faithful co-workers in making these videos, and so you'll see them every now and again on these videos. Now, so we're very excited to go through the book of Acts because the book of Acts is the history of the Lord's church. It goes up from the very beginning right up until when the Apostle Paul was arrested and imprisoned in his first imprisonment. So there's a lot to get through, but in chapter 1 we see certain things that are happening there. There are three main sections in Acts chapter 1. First of all, we read about Jesus speaking to the apostles. He's telling them many things, and it's a really great opportunity to look back into the Gospels, the things that Jesus said there, and see them explained more here in Acts chapter 1. So that's the first thing. The second thing is we read about Jesus' ascension, and then the third thing that we read of is the selection of the man to replace Judas Iscariot as an apostle. So, out of those three, what we're going to be looking at this time is Jesus' ascension into heaven. We read about that in Acts chapter 1, starting in verse 9, where it says, "And after he had said these things, he was lifted up while they were looking on, and a cloud received him out of their sight. And as they were gazing intently into the sky while he was going, behold, two men in white clothing stood beside them. And they also said, 'Men of Galilee, why do you stand looking into the sky? This Jesus who has been taken up from you into heaven will come in just the same way as you have seen him go into heaven.'" Now this is just a remarkable sight. Jesus has been speaking to the disciples, and all of a sudden he's lifted up into heaven, and he continues going as they look amazed, and he's taken up into the clouds and they see him no more. Then there are these two men in white clothing. That gives us a little bit of a hint. These were angels. And notice what they said. As they were gazing into the sky while he was going up, behind two men in white clothing stood beside him. And they said, "Men of Galilee, why do you stand looking into the sky? This Jesus who has been taken up from you will come in just the same way as you've watched him go into heaven." Well, this is something that we're looking forward to. So we read about Jesus' ascension and his coming back. Now this is very important for us because as Jesus went, so too is he coming back for us. There's a promise there that we can rely on. It's a promise that we can look forward to. Notice what Paul writes to the church in Thessalonica in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verses 16 to 18. It says, "For the Lord himself will descend from heaven with a shout, with the voice of an archangel, with the trumpet of God, and the dead in Christ will rise first. Then we who are alive and remain will be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air, and we shall always be with him. Therefore comfort one another with these words. As surely as Jesus ascended into heaven, he will come back to take us home to live with him through eternity." That's just so incredible and so beautiful and so encouraging. That's one of the things about this book of Acts. We read about these men and women, faithful Christians in the first century. Now, they went through all sorts of persecutions and trouble, but they have this continual hope, this continual encouragement that Jesus is the Lord, that he is the Christ, and he is coming back to take us home. Well, if you've enjoyed this video, hit the like button. That really helps us. Subscribe if you haven't, and come back next week for as we start our study in Acts chapter 2. Thank you so much, and goodbye for now.